In the ancient Middle East, the lands of the Jews and Samaritans overlapped and intertwined. Despite their related lineage, these two groups have historically been at odds, carrying with them centuries of misunderstanding, distrust, and even open hostility. What lies at the root of this division between people who share so much in common? And why, even today, do these tensions continue to resonate throughout history? To understand the split, we need to go back nearly 3,000 years to the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. After the reign of King Solomon, the United Kingdom of Israel split into two. The northern kingdom retained the name Israel with its capital in Samaria, while the southern kingdom was called Judah, centered in Jerusalem. This political split laid the foundation for a deep division that went beyond politics and into religious identity. In 722 BC, the Assyrian Empire conquered Israel, and the people of the northern kingdom, many of whom were Samaritans, faced assimilation, exile, and the influence of Assyrian culture. Meanwhile, Judah remained relatively intact, developing its own identity. Over time, the people of Judah, known as Jews, began to see themselves as the sole preservers of the Israelite tradition. But for the Samaritans, this was an erasure of their heritage. The division deepened with religious differences. Both Jews and Samaritans regarded the Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, as sacred scripture. However, the Samaritans considered Mount Gerizim, not Jerusalem, to be the holiest site. They built a temple there, a direct challenge to the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, which was seen by Jews as the only legitimate house of worship. Each side believed that its practices were the true way to honor their shared God, and that the other had strayed from the path. In 128 BC, the Hasmonean Jewish king John Hyrcanus attacked Samaria and destroyed the Samaritan temple on Mount Gerizim. For the Samaritans, this was not just an attack on a building, but a symbolic act of religious intolerance and domination. Resentment from this event lingered for generations, fueling the cycle of animosity. By the time of the Roman Empire, Jews and Samaritans were culturally distinct communities, with mutual suspicion hardened by years of separation. The Samaritans claimed to be the true Israelites, descendants of Joseph through his sons Ephraim and Manasseh, while the Jews questioned the purity of the Samaritans, labeling them a mixed race due to intermarriage during and after the Assyrian conquest. This accusation was a sore point, as lineage was a central aspect of the identities of both groups. The animosity was so well known that it found its way into the stories and teachings of the time. In the New Testament, Jesus' parable of the Good Samaritan uses a Samaritan character to illustrate unexpected kindness in a divided world, highlighting the deep tension even at that time. When Jesus spoke to the Samaritan woman at the well, her surprise stemmed from a simple fact: Jews and Samaritans simply did not interact unless it was necessary, and certainly not in friendship. In today's world, the Samaritan community is small but resilient, with fewer than 1,000 Samaritans remaining, divided mainly between Mount Gerizim and the Israeli city of Holon. Their customs and festivals still preserve ancient traditions, and they maintain the Samaritan Torah, written in an archaic form of Hebrew. Modern Jews and Samaritans generally coexist peacefully, but the historical rift is still felt, symbolized by their parallel but separate practices. Samaritan, we are proud of who we are, of preserving the ancient ways. We are also Israel in our own way, and we honor that heritage just as the Jews honor theirs. The story of Jews and Samaritans is one of roots that grew into different branches, each strong in its own identity. Their division is a reminder of how historical events, even millennia old, shape beliefs and identities for generations. Perhaps by understanding the depth of this ancient rift, we can find new paths to respect and recognition, bridging divisions that began long ago.